Alright, welcome back. Well, it's been a couple months since we've done one of these, so I figured I'd update you guys. Today is July the 17th, and today is the day that we planned a year ago to be sitting in Oshkosh. So I always go the Friday before the show starts, and that would be today. Get down there before the weekend, before the big traffic and the arrivals, and then have a couple days to get the airplane ready, cleaned up, bugs off, and ready to show. So obviously a little bit disappointment this year with everything going on, but lots of excitement for next year. So an update on the RV, it's planned to be painted not until next March now, so we'll go the winter with it unpainted, and then getting ready for Oshkosh 2021 showing. So a couple questions that we'll discuss on this forum like we always do. Some questions about the engine and the timing and the ignition. It is a 10-to-1 compression engine. I use Lightspeed Plasma 3 ignition and 1 mag on it, and I use a timing of 20 degrees, which is recommended by the ignition company and the engine manufacturer, which is why I use the ignition timing indicator on the dash, so I can actually see what the timing on the engine is if we ran into any temperature issues. However, we haven't with this plane. In fact, it runs quite a bit cooler than I thought it would. So the cylinder head temperatures are a good 30-40 degrees cooler than what I expected to have on this high compression engine. So I might be able to get away with the 25-degree timing, but I have it set to 20 right now. And it's got good power and it's performing good, so I'm not going to mess with that right now. So a question about the cabin heat in the RV8, and that is one thing that's lacking a little bit in the RV aircraft, is the actual heat in the cockpit. It just runs off a heat muff off of the muffler and just really stops at the firewall, so it typically just blows warm air onto the pilot's shins, which is definitely not ideal. So you're kind of trying to think about how to plumb it some way, especially in the RV8 where you have a passenger in the back. So what I did on mine is I actually put a little fitting, or I think we're getting close to somebody's nest here. They don't like us walking around here. Oh well. So I put a fitting on the firewall so that I could put a scat tube on it. I actually run that to a fresh air vent on the right side of the RV8 so that I can direct it kind of over my right shoulder towards where the passenger is. And the other thing that you can do is add heated seats. Not a huge fan of heated seats because it makes it a bit of a pain to remove and put the cushions back, but it does add a nice feature if you live in an environment where it's not that warm all the time. So definitely something to consider if you live up north. So heated seats are great. And in fact, last winter I didn't even hook up the heat muff, so I was running heated seats only. Obviously you got to dress for it. So the cabin was actually quite cold in the wintertime. Didn't hook it up at all this year because honestly I didn't want to scar and mark up the exhaust before we went down to Oshkosh. But now that it's delayed a year, this next winter coming up, I'll hook it up so that the cockpit gets a little bit more comfortable. So a little update on the truck. It's taking a long time to get all the parts. They've been back ordered for a couple months now, but I think finally everything is in the mailbox. The suspension should be here hopefully next week. The engine is done and sitting in the shop, just waiting for the transmission to be connected to it. And then we'll be able to pick that up. And then a bunch of the body parts have arrived already, like you saw in a previous video. And we have more coming. So finally we can get started on getting this thing back together. So that's just a little update on the 67 Chev. Now, of course, the big question that you're probably watching this taxiway chat about is the new kit. And this was a funny scenario actually, because I tried to acquire a new kit, geez, a couple months ago. So a couple months ago, I saw this RV4 kit for sale. It was in Ontario, a little bit far away from Alberta. The timing wasn't great, didn't quite work out. I knew the guy, and then yeah, so it didn't work out, so we basically just forgot about it. Then I started working with another company, and I was hoping to acquire some kind of more of a bush airplane that hopefully we'll build again someday, but who knows. And then that kind of fell aside. So we let it go for a little while, and then a few weeks after that, I went back and inquired about the kit in Ontario. Of course, it was sold to an American at the time. But due with everything going on, the whole COVID situation, the shipping and getting across the border was being difficult. It got delayed, lost interest, and basically lost contact. I just happened to call the guy a couple months after we talked about it and asked him about it, and sure enough, it was still available. So that's what the new kit is. It is an RV4. It's a pretty versatile airplane to build. It's probably not the greatest first time build because it's not pre-punched and it's a little bit more work than the other RV series. But this one is basically a quick build kind of stage. The wings are done, the tail's done, so it's a little bit far along. But it's a very versatile kit. So trying to define the mission that I want to do with this one, it's probably going to be super simple. So it's going to be a simple airplane with very kind of basic gauges, and really going to use it as a platform to show riveting, fuel lines, wiring, Sikaflex canopy, installing fiberglass, and all these things that I wasn't able to show you with the RV8. So that's probably the mission for it. But you can go the whole other direction with the RV4. The wings can be used on rocket conversions, so you could, you know, go the complete other avenue of it and have a huge budget fast airplane with an IO 540 and a different fuselage and the RV4 tail and wings. So it's definitely a kit that you can show, you know, how cheap can I get into an airplane that does 200 miles an hour. So the RV4 is really fast. We're probably planning to put 180 horsepower engine in it, and we'll decide on what we're going to do with the prop. But it'd be a fast airplane that's quite affordable. So as far as the price of it, usually I typically say that the kit itself is about a third to a quarter of the final price of the whole airplane. So if you pay $20,000, $25,000 for the kit, you can reasonably build the airplane for about $75,000, or between $75,000 and $100,000. That's pretty putting new stuff in, but you could definitely make it cheaper. So that's super exciting. It is not going to be a fast build kit. It is going to take some time because there is probably some changes coming up with the military postings and those kinds of things for myself. So stand by on that. Stand by on a few little life changes there. So it's not going to be like the RV8, which took me about 18 months to build, and that included deploying twice. So it was significantly less than 18 months. It's about 14 months to build it. But the wings were basically quick build when I got it, and the fuselage wasn't touched. So it had some work done to it, but it was a pretty quick build, so just over a year. This one is not going to be like that. So I'll probably tinker on it, show you guys some stuff, but it is not going to be flying in a year or 2 years from now. It's going to be a slow project that I'll use to show you guys. So that's it. Sorry for the 2-month delay in getting these taxi chats out and answering your guys' questions. We'll try and do it more. We did a couple little cross countries with the 8. You probably saw the one we went to Lac La Biche with the daughter, super fun. And then we did another trip to Melfort, Saskatchewan to look at a Beechcraft 836. So I'll get that video out probably in another week or so. I'll put that one together. But again, another cross-country trip with the RV8, just showing how efficient this airplane is. So we flight plan on the way to Melfort, Saskatchewan, just about an hour flight. So we flight plan 175 knots TAS, and that's burning about 7.1 to 7.3 gallons per hour. So it's very efficient in cruise with the Gammy injectors and lean back, lean a peak. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you guys follow along in the RV4 build. Sorry to the guys who guessed RV4 a long time ago, but the whole convoluted discussion of originally making an offer on it and then trying to get a different kit that was a bush plane, and then all the way back to the RV4. So Jeff out there, he guessed right several months ago, asked about if it was an RV4, and I said no. Now I feel bad. Of course it is, and you guys follow along. And I think the mission right now is going to be super simple and see how cheap you can go for a 200-mile-an-hour airplane. So I think that's going to be the goal of it. It's going to be old school, probably old school gauges with a big engine. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. So build yourself something, take it for a rip, follow along, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.